Welcome to the Actionable ESG Talk series brought to you by AKFI, the Actionable Knowledge Foundational Institute, the world's first non-profit industry association committed to bridging the gap between ESG, sustainability, AI, and digital transformation. Actionable ESG Talk series bring together great minds to discuss the current state and future state of ESG, sustainability, and digital transformation. And I'm delighted to have here with our guests two of our interns at AKFI, uh, Aidan and Elouise. And first, I would like to start by thanking you for your contributions to AKFI. Really great to have you here, and great to hear from the Gen Z and the young generations how uh, we can pass the baton about sustainability. A little bit on the biographies. Aidan Flynn, in addition to her studies in the Division One water polo athletics, she served as a co-chair of the Associated Students Zero Waste Committee, where she leads initiatives in minimizing waste and promoting sustainable practices across the USCSB's campus. Aidan also gained hands-on experience conducting ecological research in laboratory and in the field, further developing her technical understanding of environmental challenges. Turning to Aidan for a second, what's your passion? What passion brings you towards sustainability? And part of the question also, if you were to uh, change your career or stay with this career, would you make a change?
Thank you, Manuel. So I became really interested in environmental studies and science in high school, and I decided to study environmental science in college. So my studies have mainly been on like the more scientific and technical side, and I've studied a lot about the problems, but I've always been really interested in the solutions. And that's why I still want to go into sustainability and why I chose to work with AKFI to gain some of that experience. Because I think corporations and businesses in particular have a really special role in being able to change humanity's relationship with the environment through sustainable practices. So I think there's just great potential there, and that's really what I want to get involved with in my career.
Thank you for sharing, Aidan. And one addition to your really very interesting insight: corporations need to transform to really understand that sustainability brings profitability, not only reporting and the good things they are doing to keep with environmental laws, with social laws and norms. So profitability is a main element also, and I'm really looking at you to discuss once you move out of the university, to carry this idea that anything in a company has to be also financially sound. Sustainability, I'm saying this often, sustainability is not about charity. Charity is great, but sustainability is business. So thank you very much again, and wanted to introduce Elouise Hollenkamp, junior Gonzaga University, studying environmental studies and French with a minor in sustainable business. Additionally, the past semester, she had the opportunity to study sustainable food and environmental economics in Copenhagen, Denmark. Wow, that's where good pastries and butter is, as far as I know. Eloise is
Sure.
part. I'm sure you studied that as well. Eloise is a part of the free Gonzaga, yes, whose mission is to push Gonzaga's university to diverse from the top 100 coal and top 100 oil and gas companies. And that AKFI, and thank you both again, She researches and writes articles on AI and sustainability. This is a tough job, by the way, as the data is typically insufficient and colored by uh, different opinions. And she's working also on honing her content and marketing skills. And going back to you, Elouise, the same question is for Aidan. If you make a decision, will you change your mind or you'll continue on the track?
Yeah, I mean, I still am not totally sure what I want to pursue in my career. I do want to stick with the environmental path, but there are so many different areas that like entails. I also kind of like Aiden am interested in figuring out how corporations can integrate sustainability within their business models to be profitable. And I think that's something that is pretty promising as a potential career. So yeah, I mean I'm glad with the path that I chose, but studying the environment and all the different aspects of it is definitely it can be confusing.
Well, it is. And actually, one thing that I keep telling anyone that wants to listen to me or pretend so, but what I am telling people is that sustainability is actually not only a multidisciplinary domain, it's actually transdisciplinary domain. And the key difference is, if you think of transdisciplinary, is the ability uh, to communicate and the ability to persuade different disciplines inside the corporation. And I think you mentioned something very important, which is the element of financial sustainability. Mostly we refer to sustainability in terms of environment and social stakeholders. However, as I mentioned to Aidan as well, contribution to profitability of the company, explaining to the finance people, to the chief financial officer and CEO, that sustainable is a good business from a financial viewpoint. It's critical at this juncture in sustainability because most people think sustainability it's a optional, it's a costly optional contribution to society, and it should actually be core to the business. So if anything from today's talk, Elouise, keep in mind that finance it's very important. And really, I'll finish here by telling you, if you observe any quarterly or annual reporting to the industry, there are only two people that show up at the meeting, the CEO and the CFO. So it's very important again. And by the way, the CFO, she does most of the talk. The CEO
Yeah.
is sort of doing the introduction. So there is a big area there, and the big area that requires talent and patience and these transdisciplinary skills that I mentioned about. And usually we start with trends. So from your uh, viewpoint, what current trends in sustainability, what you see emerging practices, what you learn going to Copenhagen or going Aidan, going to field, what the science needs to do, what is the current state, and give you the thought to AI as well, because we seem to be obsessed a little bit with AI. So who wants to start first?
I can go. I'd say just as a consumer and young person, like the greatest trends I've seen in the past few years from companies been like adopting renewable energy, setting carbon neutrality goals, and putting circular economy principles into use. A lot of times you see that just through the marketing of companies saying and claiming that they are sustainable, and whether they really are or not is sometimes hard to decipher. I'd say that I've only really become aware of how AI has affected sustainability since joining AKFI, and I'm sure Eloise can speak more on that because she's been researching it a lot. But from what I've learned so far, mainly from watching the actionable ESG talks, is that AI is really essential to identifying the gaps along supply chains into helping and also helping companies identify those gaps and streamline communication to become more sustainable overall. And then that kind of falls into the other new trend that I've more recently been looking into with my work with AKFI, which is sustainability reporting. And I think that AI plays a really big role in helping companies report their sustainability because it's such a gray subject matter and it's difficult to report. There's a lot of moving parts like there are for anything in the environment, but especially when you're coupling these environmental, societal, and financial goals, and then the impacts of trying to reach them, it's really confusing. So hopefully AI can do some good in helping clarify that and fill in the gaps of human knowledge on what to report and what's important, what's not. But yeah, I would say those are generally the big trends I've
Yeah,
seen.
and actually, you're bringing very important and critical thing because we think AI it's superhuman in some ways, but the data is produced by humans, not it can be captured by machine in an automatic fashion, but we decide, us the humans, the people working in sustainability decide what data to collect, what data to use, and the quality of data, it's absolutely critical to the way analytical tools like AI work. So very, very important point about the trends in sustainability, bringing the people in the middle of deciding and in the middle of creating practices for data. And Elouise, I'll turn to you and what do you see in terms of trends in sustainability?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with what Aidan said about like corporations and businesses kind of adopting a different sustainability initiatives and things of that nature. And then I think related to AI, at least in kind of the, students' perspective and different people who are studying environmental issues, I think that it's kind of become a big concern among, I think, people my age and people studying, like I said, environmental issues, just how that will impact our energy usage, and how that demand can be met through, if we have to electrify the grid or how just in general, how do we meet the energy demands when we're already emitting too much CO2 into the atmosphere. So I think that's definitely something of a big concern and obviously stuff that AKFI is directly working with and is really interesting. And then I think also this might just be more of a trend in my mind and things that I've been recently into. But yeah, going back to studying in Copenhagen, studying different sustainable food structures is super interesting to me, and understanding how detrimental like monoculture and industrial farming is on our environment, and then how we can create food systems that are better for it. But I think that might be more, you know, focused on maybe not the United States, but more niche trends within academia or other like Western Europe and those countries. Yeah.
So I think you both bringing very important insights into the trends. And I'll start a little bit with Aidan. When Aidan, when you talked about greenwashing, right? When marketing departments take over reporting, and I'll share a little, insight. I've been for over 10 years chief marketing officers for Huawei, and I can tell you that nothing, and let me repeat, nothing gets out of the marketing if it's critical to the company. That's not the role of the marketing department. So it's very important, and we have in AKFI, we're conducting a study actually trying to find out the role of the CSO and the scope of responsibilities. And the study is it's following two metrics, the budget and the human resources the CSO he or she has with the company, because nothing in company and nothing in company can be implemented if it's just a nice office in the corner and you don't have financial and human resources to help you. So many companies can have a CSO that has no staff and no money, and basically barely can sign for paper clips. So it's very important. And also, Elouise, yes, thank you. It's really interesting because these hands-on experiences are irreplaceable. We like to believe that everything can be taught in theory on a blackboard or on a computer screen or a PowerPoint, but no. That's how we learn, and that's how we solidify our learning. So, a very interesting experience. And sort of continuing on the learning topic, uh, we touch on the at the beginning about the background, but could you share a little bit more about the academics, the courses, the experience that shaped your understanding so far, and will continue to shape the understanding about sustainability? Any specific projects?
Yeah. So kind of as I was talking about last semester being abroad, that was a really cool learning experience because as you said, it was more hands-on and the program that I was with was doing a lot of field studies in different areas in Denmark, and then we also did a week in Spain, going to different biodynamic, regenerative, different farms like that, different restaurants asking, where is the food coming from? So I think that has really been an awesome perspective and getting more hands-on experience than maybe we do in the typical classroom at university. But in that area, environmental studies, as I've said before, encapsulates a lot of different topics. So, I've done some of the sciences, environmental biology and chemistry, but also looking at politics and policy and I have a sustainable business minor, so some environmental economics and social entrepreneurship and stuff like that, which has been cool to gain different perspectives. Um, and then as far as like hands-on experience goes too, another class that I did was GIS, which is it's a technical skill and it's definitely hard. I don't know if Aidan, you've taken it. I thought it was a pretty hard class, but it was cool because I was able to use it and work with our Institute for Climate, Water, and the Environment and kind of provide further analysis on their resiliency hubs, which are locations within the city to help house people during extreme weather events. Because in Spokane, it gets super hot in the summer, and we have, a lot of wildfire threats too. So I think all those different, it's a lot of different kind of random things maybe, but I think that's kind of good in shaping, yeah, my background in environmental studies.
And GIS stands for,
Geographical Information Systems.
I was suspecting so, but I was afraid to say it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that actually helps you to capture the geographical information, right, on the event. You mentioned, for instance, if you have fires in around Spokane, then you can pinpoint and localize, right? So you can continue the study. You can capture the
Yeah,
event.
and just being able to visually map out different just things that are happening for our environment was basically the class, but using the tools are is very like they're very detailed tools and very elaborate. So
Yeah, and we'll come a little bit more in depth, maybe, um, you know, how that will connect to aspirations. But I would like to first turn to Aidan and talk about the learning experiences from your university.
Yeah, I would say that mine has been really similar to Eloise's, except I have avoided a GIS class, which has been kind of nice. Maybe not for the resume, but for my course load, it's been nice. But my academic background's kind of been all over the place. I'm getting my degree in my Bachelor of Science in Environmental Studies, so I had to start with like the core science classes. So, chem and bio and physics and all the labs. And if sustainability ever came up in those classes, it really was giving me the idea of humanity being harmonious with nature, which is still the way I like to think of it, although it's a little idealistic. I like that idea of sustainability. But in the past few years, as I've gotten into upper division courses and whatnot, I've had more leeway in what classes I choose to take. Um, and honestly, none of them have had sustainable in the title, which maybe it's just not much what my school doesn't really offer, but each one definitely has sustainability come up as a topic. And I've known that I've been interested in the topic for a while. So I've always like really paid attention to what those classes say about sustainability because they've been all over the place from like ethnobotany to politics to economics. In one of the courses I took last quarter was environmental politics, and sustainability was described as a political discourse to talk about environmental politics. And basically, it was like it spoke about sustainability as a way to think and talk about environmental problems and how to solve them. And it defined it as decoupling economic growth from environmental and societal harm. And I really liked that definition and that way of thinking about the topic, just because I like that you can use it as like sustainability is such an all-encompassing concept, but you can use it as like a way of thinking as well. And like you were talking about earlier, Manuel, it very much has economics is a really big part of it. So I liked that definition and I liked the way that that class taught me about sustainability. I've also gotten hands-on experience. I went to Iceland last summer and did kind of a similar study, a field program like Elouise, and I learned a lot about renewable energy because that's such a big topic over there. So that gave me like a different side of sustainability because renewable energy is a huge part of it. I worked in a lab in the fall too, which was I really just like processed plant and soil samples. So it's kind of doing like the minute work of it, but that was focused on climate resiliency, which is another topic that you could put under sustainability. So I haven't taken any classes that are just on that topic, but a lot that speak about it and speak about it differently, but you can always find the underlying theme of its environment, society, and economics, and they all need to be harmonious in some way.
Yes, absolutely. And half jokingly, I'm saying that us humans don't have a contract with the planet. The planet doesn't need us, right? We
Mhm.
have to figure out ourselves what we're doing in terms of doing good for the planet or doing very, bad things to the planet. But the planet it's much more complex. And you describe very well the complexity, actually. I have a course of sustainability. I'm instructing myself at Cornell for what's called the executive master in public administration, and you can see the energy of the students to learn about, but also you can sense the complexity of the topic because we try to put so much under sustainability. One thing which you'll notice it's actually people talk also in terms of UN SDGs, sustainability development goals, which are unfortunately there are not attainable by the current social, political, and economic environment. And we tend to load those onto the companies and say you have to help with things like not only environment but also poverty and social discord and so on, which is beyond the capability of most companies in the world. So you presented really very well this complexity, and I cannot see how if you want to teach a course on sustainability, you probably need a 4 years course
Hmm.
because
Yeah, I
it's so
completely.
you brought it together so well, and you and Elouise, and other experiences, hands-on experiences through the class, where the labs you mentioned already, Aidan, for instance, the labs were not specific to sustainability, but they were presenting, it's like a Rubik cube. They're presenting all these facets, right? Maybe a little bit mixed together. So any other experience you want to share from the labs, from the trips, from talking with colleagues in the class?
I don't know if there's anything else like specific necessarily. I think that it just, we are taking a lot of different things within sustainability, as Aidan said. Like, I don't know, I've done a water quality lab, and that isn't anything like it's just gaining those technical skills that can help with the bigger picture of sustainability overall, and all these little experiences that, yeah, it might seem kind of random at the time. I feel like really help to add to the overall knowledge base.
Absolutely. Please go ahead, Aidan.
I was just gonna say I've had a lot of labs that focus on like conservation efforts. I'm sure Eloise has too. It's a really big topic in environmental studies. And I think that's also something that can be related to business because a lot of the times when corporations are trying to meet these sustainability goals, they look towards conservation efforts to try to like, offset their carbon or just show that they're doing good somewhere else to kind of make up for maybe some other actions. Um, but yeah, I can't think of like specific labs related to sustainability, but I could see that connection between labs focused on conservation.
Absolutely. And one way to look at it is like you have a kaleidoscope, right? So you can move it and get different, images if you want. But one thing that is probably the science of or the art of human communications. We tend to have different words in different professions for the same thing. So when you say conservations, I can say in economics terms inputs. And conserving inputs, reducing the amount of water, the amount of energy, the amount of human labor, if you want, which is an input. It's a part of the sustainability of a company. All these are good projects to reduce costs, increase the efficiency, and increase the profitability. But we have these language barriers, right? Because if you tell me the companies have to be, they should conserve, people will say yes, but that may cost us money because we need to invest in, for instance, better white water filtering for the water coming out of the process. If you ask the company, okay, how can you save the water and account for? Oh, they'll say, oh yes, this is a good project, and we can allocate some budget. So it's the same it, the same problem presented through this kaleidoscope in different shapes, and different parts of the organization react according to the function of the organization. So I think you get a good set of tools, but if I may share something, you have to connect them and sort of have a pocket dictionary and say, oh yeah, economists call it inputs. It's not conservation, right? And yes, finance people know how to justify a business case for saving on inputs, or the same for waste management, right? Waste, it's a sign that something in the process is incomplete, right? Ideally, processes should be zero waste, right? Limited. So I think you'll discover through your journey, you'll discover really how to manage this. But cannot encourage enough the idea that keep these pieces separate, but also have the dictionary for whenever you meet in the environment or I mean in the corporation's environment with different groups. Keep in mind that they speak English with different acronyms.